everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another speed build video in The Sims 4. I hope you're all having the most amazing day ever so far, and thank you so much for joining me here today. So as you can probably tell from the title and the thumbnail, we are building a brand new house for the Pancakes family. So this is where Bob, Eliza and their young son Iggy live, and I adore how this build turned out. I think it looks so nice. I think it really does tell the story of the Pancakes family, and so as we're sort of moving through the build and sort of working on particularly the interior, we can talk a little bit about the Pancakes family because it's quite an unusual, not really an unusual story, but it's a bit of a sad story really, and how they live their lives. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we move on to the interior, but we are working on the exterior structure here, and yeah, I'm so in love with this. I'm gonna be honest. The double garage at the front I didn't think it was going to come in as handy as it did, but that's actually where Bob lives. That's like Bob's space within the house. And also, I'm just going to make a disclaimer right now. I think I'm starting to sound a little bit like my voice is sounding a bit croaky, a bit hoarse, and I think I'm feeling a little bit run down, and typically I'll get like this. I don't know if anybody else gets this when there's a change of season. So we've just moved from, I would say we're pretty much moving into summer now in the UK. The weather's getting warmer. I'm getting more miserable. I'm an autumn Halloween girly. I really am. So I'm just getting more miserable, and yeah, I think that's why I'm feeling a bit run down. So I just wanted to mention that because I feel like you can definitely hear it in my voice, so I do apologize. I'm hoping that I'm not getting ill. I really am, but I have a sneaky suspicion that I am. Unfortunately, I'm taking my multivitamins, I'm drinking plenty of water, so I'm just hoping that I can try and stay clear of it as best as I can. But anyway, yeah, so as you can see, it's coming together really nicely actually, and I'm going to make another disclaimer now. The colour scheme for the house, and when I say the colour scheme, it doesn't really, so it changes off camera because I did my usual, I took a screenshot and then I was thinking, okay, it's cute, but it's not really giving Pancakes house, in my opinion. I wanted you to look at this and be like, yeah, that's the Pancakes family house, even by looking at the exterior. Now, I think for me, it's giving Pancakes family house. It definitely does on the interior, but I suppose that's open to interpretation really, because it's definitely very different to the house that was here by default. When you load into Willow Creek, that house is just, it's a disaster. It truly is. I'd really like to renovate that at some point, possibly like doing an on-camera video, or maybe we do a live stream or something where we completely renovate the other house. But yeah, it needed an upgrade. It just needed an upgrade, so I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I've already renovated the house on the left there. I did that on an on-camera video, and then the house on the right, oh, that house needs some serious TLC, and maybe when I'm feeling up to the challenge one day, we'll get that done as well. But until then, the Pancakes officially have a brand new house. So if you like doing a playthrough with the Pancakes, or even if you have the Pancakes maybe in a save file that you're playing in, maybe this house could be for you. Or perhaps you have a similar family dynamic to the Pancakes and you'd like to move them in here, or maybe you'd like to download this unfurnished and you'd like to completely just decorate it yourself. The opportunities, the possibilities are endless. Oh dear, we're only at the start of the video and I'm already struggling to get my words out. This is not a good sign. Anyway, yeah, I decided to give the family a car. Now, I envision that Eliza probably drives this more than Bob. I don't think Bob really leaves the house all that much. I think Eliza, she possibly doesn't either, but I can imagine that she's like, no, that's my car. You're not using it, that's my car. So, but that's that. I can imagine that Bob probably paid for it for her, and then now she's like getting really petty with stuff. She's like, no, you can't use the car, that's my car. I don't know. She seems like a very petty sim to me. She's very, in my opinion, she's materialistic. She's a bit stuck up. She's more into sort of putting on the facade that they have this perfect family life, which I wanted to try and portray in the exterior of the house. Like from the outside, the house looks so picturesque and like just like the perfect family live there. And then when you get onto the inside, you know, Bob has his own space, Eliza has her own room, and she's pretty much taken over the whole house. Like she's possibly redecorated it, and she's said to Bob, if you're gonna live here, then you just need to have your own space. And that's why he's actually in the converted double garage at the front. So I even put like a blind, because there's a window as you so next to the door there. I didn't end up adding a window just to get a bit of light in. Eliza's put a blind up because she doesn't want people, when they visit the house, she doesn't want people to know that Bob has his own room, has his own space. So she's just completely segregated him, and she's putting on this facade of, well, you know, we have this perfect house and the perfect life and everything's in place, everything's where it should be. It's a really cheery house on the inside, and it's so well kept, and yeah, I think it really does tell that story of the pancakes. But anyway, yeah, we are just adding some windows onto the back of the house to replicate the front. And I tell you what as well, the back garden for this house is probably one of the best ones I've ever done, truly. And I think it's because I was allowed to sort of tell the family's story. We know the pancakes, we know the situation with the pancakes. And so it just made it so much easier for me to add little bits here and there that you can follow along as a player. You know, and the house ended up actually being, I was just thinking about this then, I think it ends up being around 92,000 simoleons. So I think that pretty much sticks with the budget and everything like that. I think it just works. It truly does, at least in my opinion anyway. So yeah. Again, the back garden, there's a pool, there's a space for Iggy to play, which I'm so proud of. I can't wait to show you that. But again, we'll talk more about that when we actually get onto that portion of the build. And it's all a front. It's all a lie. Like this, they're not a happy family. They don't have a happy home life. And it just goes to show that like looks can be deceiving. And Eliza, she spends her entire life trying to prove to people that they are this perfect family. And they're not, you know, when people come over, you would not even know it. Looking at it, there wouldn't even be questions about the garage because it just wouldn't be questioned. And it's I love that I was able to tell this story. So I actually ended up using a couple of new items from the new kits as well, which leads me on to just telling you guys about my EA creator code. So you can use code RachelPedd on thesims.com or the EA app. And what that does is it directly supports me and my content because I do get a small portion of the sale. So I just wanted to thank you all so much. Any of you that have ever used my code, thank you so much. If you've ever considered using my code, thank you. And for the people that are going to use my code in the future, thank you as well. So I just wanted to pop that in there just in case you were in the sort of market for some new packs. That is a fantastic way to support me and my content, and there are other creators out there with codes as well. So just thank you very much. That's all I wanted to say on that. So this is Iggy's little sandpit area, his little play area. I have never put anything like this in a build before, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna start doing it more often because it's so cute. Like the back garden for me, it was really quite deceptive. When I first went onto the back garden, I thought, ooh, this is actually bigger than I thought. And usually I will avoid back gardens like the plague. Me and back gardens just do not get along. Typically my back gardens are just like bare minimum. I'm not good at putting them together. I'm not good at, I don't know, it just seems like a really overwhelming space to me. But because I was able to segregate all the different areas, I think that really helped me with sort of working out what I wanted to put where. And again, because I was able to tell the story for the family that live here, I think it was just super easy. In my opinion, I don't know. I don't know if I'm making much sense. But anyway, yeah, now we move on to the interior of the house where we actually work out the floor plan for the ground floor and the upper floor. I think I do them both at the same time. Now, another disclaimer. So So I actually end up adding a very small entryway to the house just to kind of section off that front bit, because I didn't want you to walk into the kitchen dining space, because the living room's actually on the right hand side of the house, that big room there. So we actually start working on the living room first. So you can see I've added the little entryway, and then the kitchen dining's on the left. Bob's space is right at the front, so the double garage space. It's a very, very big room, but I can't wait to show you it because I love the way that I decorated it, sorry. But we are starting with the living room. It was so important for me to keep this really clean, sort of prim and proper interior. You know, Eliza, she's living a lie, and she needs the tools to be able to do that. So I love how this turned out. It's not a colour scheme that I gravitate towards too often, with this like sort of soft blue with pops of yellow and cream and orange. It's just not. And then I also found it was quite difficult to try and lay out the items in this room. But in the end, I think I did kind of make it work. It's not my favourite space in the house, in truth. I do think that Bob's room is probably my favourite. And you'll see why when we get onto Bob's room. That's, I think, the last room that we decorate on the ground floor, I believe. But yeah, I wanted this to be like a typical sort of suburban family space. So I'm pretty sure I achieved that. Oh, and I also end up changing the colour of the walls in here to yellow, which again, not a colour scheme I would typically gravitate towards. However, I think because of the pops of yellow on the exterior, it just tied it in really nicely. And then that also allowed me to sort of introduce yellow to other areas of the house. So the bathrooms have, I was going to say they have a yellow theme. They definitely have a strong yellow theme. Like the flooring's yellow, the tiles are yellow, the kitchen's the same. And then also with Eliza's room, I think we end up going with soft pinks and soft yellows mixed with like accents of gold. So it was quite interesting because I wanted her room again just to be this just, oh yes, this is my bedroom, you know. I can imagine she's quite stuck up. I think I used the word stuck up, or the phrase stuck up, to describe Eliza. Materialistic, stuck up. She's very good at putting on a front. I think she's had to be, because her and Bob haven't been getting along for years, is what I'm gathering from the situation. And so she's had to become very good at sort of telling this lie that they have this perfect marriage, and they really don't. Anyway, yeah, so with this space here, I ended up adding some bookshelves from the Book Nook kit, and I think they look okay. I didn't really know what else to do with that space, in truth, because what I end up doing with this room here, just on the, like, you can see the door, that ends up being the downstairs bathroom / laundry room. So I wanted that to be a bit of a bigger space, because I knew that I wanted there to be a laundry room in this house. That's just what I wanted. And I think because that's the only bathroom that I envision Bob using, I wanted it to be bigger. Like, Eliza probably doesn't use that downstairs bathroom very often, other than to possibly bathe Iggy, like give him a bath and stuff, because the only other bathroom upstairs is the ensuite that goes off of Eliza's room. So and that only has a shower in it, I believe. Oh no, that does have a bath. So I suppose she could bath Iggy upstairs. So yeah, I think other than when she's doing her laundry, I think she just avoids that room, to be honest. But that's Bob's primary bathroom. And I was initially going to add a door from the garage into the bathroom so that he doesn't even need to enter the main area of the house, because I think unless he's helping look after Iggy, like possibly when Eliza goes out, I think he just keeps to himself in that room, in all honesty, which is a little bit sad to think about, really, but I think that's the harsh reality of how they live. Anyway, then we move on to the kitchen. Again, I wanted it to be really traditional, and I also, like I said, introduced the pops of the yellow in here as well. I think they complemented the base game counters really, really well, and I was initially going to go with this tiling from, I think that's from Parenthood, but I end up going with the tiling from the Home Chef Hustle stuff pack, because it has this beautiful yellow and blue swatch, which I just thought worked better with the house itself. But I am just a little bit obsessed with the tiling on the floor. This is from Growing Together, I believe. It's like a herringbone pattern. I love it so much. I've been looking for an excuse to use this tile. I don't really use it very often. Again, I did find myself using items and color schemes that I would usually not use, which I thought was really quite refreshing. And because I haven't built anything in over a week, I was thinking, oh, that's another thing as well. Sorry, because I hadn't built anything in over a week, I was feeling a little bit rusty. But when the 2 new kits came out, so when did they come out? Just a few days ago at the time of me recording this this voiceover. So we have the Bistro kit, and we also have the other one, which I can't remember the name of. I'm sorry. I attempted to build a Bistro, and I attempted to build that, I think it was on Friday evening, in the hopes that I could get a Bistro build out for the speed build this weekend. And unfortunately, I spent, I think it was around 3 hours trying to build a bistro, and I came to the conclusion that I simply I'm not made to build things like that. I don't have the capabilities, I don't have the skills, I don't have the creativity, and yeah, I had to just walk away and sort of say to myself, it's okay, it's absolutely fine, I can't build everything. Unfortunately, there's obviously some incredible creators who have created some beautiful bistros, so if you are in the market for one, I can honestly say that I have seen some stunning ones on my timeline on Twitter and YouTube, etc. So yeah, there are other people who are far more talented than me that have been getting bistros out. But so yeah, that was when I kind of decided to I went to bed with a bit of a huff on, to be honest, because I was like, I can't build the bistro, like I've just let myself down. And then I just had this, I'll tell you what I did. I went on my builds list. So I don't know if any of you are aware, some of you might be. I have a builds list on my phone. So whenever I get a spark of ideas, usually it happens at work or when I'm not at home. Or I'll be watching a film or something and I'll just get this spark of inspiration from somewhere and I'll just make a quick note on my phone. And then I refer back to it later so that I can sort of decide what I want to build on that particular day. And I was scrolling through the list and I came across where I'd written, build a new home for the Pancakes family. And so I don't know what came over me. I was just like, that sounds kind of perfect. It's not going to be a house that's too big, not too small. I know the family, so why not just give it a go? And I'm so glad I did that, because if I hadn't, like, this house wouldn't even be a thing. So yeah, we do move on to the laundry room / downstairs bathroom. I have done this many times in builds. I honestly don't know how many houses would have a setup like this or a room like this in the house. And I'm taking a teeny tiny bit of inspiration from the first house that my husband and I lived in. The downstairs utility room was actually a bathroom / utility room, which I've honestly never really seen before. And so our house now is completely different. We have a downstairs bathroom separate to the utility room, which I'm much more familiar with. But yeah, we had space for the washing machine, and then we had a shower, a toilet, and then a sink, but the room was huge. It seemed like unnecessary space, to be completely honest, and I think you could argue that this is another room, there's unnecessary space, but I think it's a really good way to combine two separate rooms. So that's kind of the idea behind that. Anyway, we have moved on to my favorite house in the build. This is Bob's room. So as you can see, I was going to put a vending machine in here. This is the lengths that Bob has gone to try and leave this room as little as possible so he doesn't have to deal with Eliza. Like, I wanted it to be really quite far-fetched. However, I end up swapping out the vending machine for an under-counter fridge with a coffee machine on top, which I just thought was a little bit more realistic. Who's gonna have a vending machine in their room? Like, really, where would he have got that from? I feel like maybe he had some friends who worked somewhere that I don't know, and this vending machine, they were like, look, give us 50 simoleons for it and it's yours. And he was like, okay, yeah, fine. If it means I don't have to deal with Eliza, then that's great. But yeah, I don't know, I very quickly scrapped that idea and just did the under-counter fridge with the coffee machine on instead, which I think works a little bit better. So a lot of the items in this room are kind of beaten up, run down. He definitely got them secondhand. He probably did like a DIY job on the garage space. I don't think they ever used this double garage as a garage. So I think Eliza was just like, fine, stay out of my way, stay out of my hair, and you can have that space. I'm not bothered. I'm just not bothered. So bit of a DIY job for Bob. I ended up changing the flooring in here as well to more of like a beaten up wooden flooring, which I thought just fit the room a little bit better, but I'm pretty sure I did that off camera. I did a few adjustments off camera. I'm coming to realize this, but they're not major adjustments. They're just minor things that I was noticing throughout, and I just want to change that. So that's another thing to note. So a lot of these items he's probably picked up from either people that have given them to him, or possibly like a secondhand furniture place, or stuff that he's had lying around that he hasn't ever gotten rid of. So it's a bit of a mishmash. I always want to say mix-mash instead of mishmash of items and things. Like he's not a very mature sim, isn't Bob? He's probably a child at heart, and I can imagine that he probably lived like this when he was a teenager at his parents' house, and he's kind of reverted back to that to try and give him a little bit of happiness or something. I don't know. I was probably looking too deep into it, but I was finding myself becoming quite fascinated with the family as I was going through. And yeah, so this entire room is probably where he just is all the time. And I figure as well, he could possibly lock the doors for everyone but himself. So he can access obviously from the hallway if he wants to, but he can also access from the outside if he wants to as well. So it just depends how you really want to play it out. But I think if it was me, I would probably be getting him to access just through the hallway, because he doesn't even need to enter the house really. It's literally just the hallway and the door is right there. So obviously he has a television in here, there's a laptop, there's a sofa, there's a TV. He has everything. And then also he has artwork hung up that Iggy's made, and I think that just shows how much he cares about his son. I wanted that to come across in here as well. I didn't want it to look like he's like an absent father, because he's definitely not. He's very much involved in his son's life, despite the difficult circumstances that he and Eliza are facing living together. They're both there for Iggy. Like, I wanted that to come across, and I wanted to make sure that it was obvious that they both have so much love for their son. And I could also not think of a better space to use the tragic clown painting than in Bob's room. I've never used it before, and I just thought, yes, this is the time to use the tragic clown artwork, and it fits in so well with the room. And then we do move on to Eliza's bedroom. So again, it's so in keeping with the rest of the house. It really is. It's quite plainly decorated because it's not a huge room. For me, for main bedrooms, this is my ideal size, because they're really not my favorite rooms to decorate. I've spoken about this so many times. I much prefer decorating kids' rooms, teen rooms, nurseries, toddler rooms, like any other bedroom besides the main bedroom, because I just feel like mine are really quite plain and simple, but I wanted it to be plain and simple for this house. I just did. I wanted there to be a stark contrast between Eliza's space and Bob's space, and you can just tell that Bob is quite literally not allowed anywhere in this house other than the garage. She has put her foot down and said, no, you are not allowed in this house. I think that's really, really evident in the decor, etc. So that's what I wanted to get across. So she does have an ensuite, as I was saying earlier, and again, keeping with the colour scheme, because I don't know if anybody else does this, but my bathrooms all have the same colour scheme. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I just feel like if you're in a house, so my house in real life, for example, all the bathrooms have the same tiling on the floor and on the walls. All of them. They all have the same toilet, the same sink. So I think I've just sort of done that with my Sims houses, because I would assume that in real life that's what it's like. So yeah, I just added some sort of like all these decorative pieces in here, because it's quite a long, skinny bathroom, so I did struggle a little bit with it, but we end up finishing that off, and then we work on Iggy's room. So Iggy's room is really big, but what I figured was as he grows up, it just allows you as the player to make the changes required to his room. So when he becomes a child, he'll obviously get a completely different setup. When he's a teen, again, completely different setup. So I wanted there to be enough space to allow you to make the changes required. And looking back, I quite like the colour scheme. I went for like a soft mint turquoisey colour scheme, again with your pops of yellow. And for me, I don't know, it's all right, but I'm not a huge fan of this wallpaper, and I'm kicking myself now because looking back, I wish I'd have changed it. Even if it was to the yellow wallpaper that the majority of the rest of the house does, I don't, it's cute. It's a colour scheme that I feel I haven't explored for quite some time. So again, it was quite refreshing for me to put this together. But yeah, I think looking back, I would possibly change the colour of the wallpaper. But if it's not really your cup of tea, then by all means, feel free to change it. And I, of course, wanted Iggy to have as many activities in here as possible. I think when Bob hangs out with Iggy, I feel like he possibly comes up to his bedroom to hang out with him, or he maybe brings Iggy into his room downstairs. So I think, again, looking back, if I were to do this again, I would possibly add some toys for Iggy to play with in Bob's room. But I don't think Eliza minds Bob being upstairs with their son, because obviously I think despite how difficult she can be, she still understands that they need to have a relationship, you know, father and son. So I don't think she minds, to be completely honest. So yeah, play it out however you would like, but I would, if it was me, I would definitely add some toys to Bob's room. But I like you can still see that Bob cares about Iggy. As I said, the artwork on the wall in Bob's room just kind of reinstates that, reinforces that thought. So anyway, yeah. I feel like I've spoken so much about their dynamic, and I hope it's not been too annoying, but it's just things that were going through my head whilst I was creating this build, and I'm kind of just sort of like letting them all out all at once as I'm doing the voiceover. So I hope you don't mind that. Of course, I think the Pancakes family, they are what you want them to be. You could have Bob and Eliza living the most happy, most perfect life if you wanted to. I wanted to stick with more of the original storyline, and so that's why the house is as it is. Yes. But looking back on this room, it's such a big space for a toddler, and I think that's why I was sat there thinking, why am I struggling so much with this? But it's actually a really big room. And I think usually my toddler rooms are about half this size. In truth, I just feel like that's more realistic. But again, he can grow with the room. So I think for like story playthroughs, if you're actually looking to play the Pancakes family from start to finish, I think it just makes more sense to have him in a slightly bigger room. And then this is Eliza's art studio. So I figured she was really into painting and stuff like that. I can't remember where I read it, but I read that she's really into art. I think it was when you load into the family, I think someone had written a blog post about the Pancakes family, and they said that Eliza had some skill points for painting and stuff like that. So I figured, well, she seems like the kind of person that would have her own art space. I don't know whether she sells any of her art pieces. I didn't really give it that much thought, but she definitely likes to dabble with painting. And then also, I don't know if you noticed, in the garden as well, she's really into gardening. I don't think she's got any gardening skill points. I think that's just something that I made up for her as I was working through it. But again, I imagine that she's got all of these like hobbies and side hustles and stuff, and she's just that sort of sim, and that's cool. So I wanted to give her her own art studio, I suppose is what you could call it, / home office as well, because as you can see, she does have a computer here as well. So do with what you will, sorry. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this. But if you would like to download the brand new Pancakes house from the gallery, my origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box just down below. You can get them for free from Sim File Share. But thank you so much again, everyone, for joining me here today. You all take care, and I will see you again next time. Bye!